Welcome to Power in Words, your sanctuary for the soul, a quiet corner of the digital universe dedicated to rekindling your inner fire, offering the strength that only deep, true language can provide. Here, we believe that words are not merely sounds or shapes on a screen. They are the architects of our reality, the fuel for our weary spirits, and the compass that guides us when the fog of uncertainty descends. Today, we invite you to breathe deeply, to set aside the burdens you have been carrying, and to immerse yourself in a meditation on time, persistence, and the quiet, unstoppable power of moving forward. There is a pervasive silence that fills the room when we find ourselves at a crossroads, a silence often punctuated only by the rhythmic, relentless sound of a clock on the wall. It is a sound that can be comforting in its familiarity, yet terrifying in its indifference. We have all been there. We have sat in the stillness of a late night or the haze of an early morning, staring at the face of a clock, watching the second hand sweep continuously around the dial. In those moments of stagnation, when our dreams feel miles away and our energy is depleted, we tend to view the clock as an enemy. We watch it, and with every tick, we feel a pang of anxiety, a sharp reminder of time slipping through our fingers like fine sand. We calculate how old we are. We calculate how much time we have wasted. We measure the vast distance to where we want to go, and we feel how far behind we are compared to the rest of the world. We become spectators of our own temporal decay, frozen by the sheer magnitude of the journey ahead. Into this paralyzing stillness enters the voice of humorist Sam Levenson. He offers a piece of wisdom that is as sharp as it is healing, whispering to us across the years, "Don't watch the clock, do what it does. Keep going." This sentence, simple in construction yet profound in depth, is more than an instruction. It is a psychological intervention. It invites us to shift our gaze from the external measurement of time to the internal engine of action. To understand the true weight of this advice, we must first dismantle the psychology of watching the clock. When we watch the clock, we are engaging in the act of waiting. We place ourselves in a passive position, hoping for a moment to arrive rather than creating the moment ourselves. Watching the clock is the hallmark of the bored student, the anxious patient, or the unfulfilled dreamer. It creates a separation between us and our lives. It turns existence into a waiting room. The more we focus on the passage of time, the slower it seems to move, and the more acute our suffering becomes. We become hyper-aware of the gap between where we are and where we want to be, and that gap is filled with the agonizing friction of impatience. Levenson asks us to stop this voyeurism of time and instead to emulate the clock. Think for a moment about the nature of a clock. It is a masterpiece of consistency. The clock does not rush when it is late. It does not slow down when it is tired. It does not stop to question whether the hour it is counting is important or trivial. It does not seek praise for its ticking, nor does it wallow in despair when no one is looking. It simply keeps going. It moves with a steady, unyielding rhythm. It possesses a quiet confidence in its own process. If the clock were to stop and worry about how many millions of seconds are left in the year, it might freeze in overwhelmed panic. But it does not worry about the future. It only concerns itself with the single second it is currently traversing. Once that second is done, it moves to the next. This is the philosophy we are called to adopt. To do what the clock does is to enter a state of flow where the focus is not on the finish line, but on the immediate step in front of you. It is the understanding that great cathedrals were not built by dry dropping a massive stone structure from the sky. They were built brick by laying brick, day after day, year after year, often by artisans who would never live to see the spire completed. These builders did not stare at the empty sky and weep for the lack of a roof. They looked at the stone in their hands, chiseled it, and placed it. They kept going. In our modern lives, we are often plagued by the disease of instant gratification. We want the body of an athlete after 1 week in the gym. We want the mastery of a pianist after a month of lessons. We want the legacy of a titan after a year of work. When the results do not manifest instantly, we look at the clock. We panic. We think it is taking too long. We abandon the path because we cannot bear the duration of the journey. But the clock teaches us that duration is irrelevant if there is motion. The clock teaches us that the only way to get from midnight to noon is to tick through every second in between. There are no shortcuts in time, and there are no shortcuts in the crafting of a meaningful life. Imagine a writer staring at a blank page. The cursor blinks, a digital heartbeat, a modern clock. If the writer sits and worries about writing a bestseller, about the critics, about the sales, the page will remain blank. The anxiety of the outcome paralyzes the hand. But if the writer decides to do what the clock does, they simply write one word, then another, then a sentence. The sentences may be imperfect, just as some minutes of our day are difficult, but the writer keeps moving. The accumulation of these small, consistent movements eventually becomes a chapter, and the chapters become a book. The magic is not in the grand inspiration. The magic is in the relentless forward motion. This concept strikes at the heart of our deepest fears, the fear that our efforts are insignificant. We often feel that our small daily actions are just drops in an ocean, invisible and meaningless. We think, why bother writing this page? Why bother doing this workout? Why bother saving this small amount of money? It won't change anything. This is the despair of the observer. But the clock knows better. The clock knows that a day is nothing but a collection of seconds. A life is nothing but a collection of moments. By dismissing the small steps, we dismiss the entire journey. To keep going, even when the progress seems invisible, is the highest form of faith in oneself. Consider the river. It is perhaps nature's greatest example of this principle. The river encounters obstacles, giant boulders, fallen trees, dams, and dry spells. Does the river stop and stare at the rock, lamenting its bad luck? Does it turn back? No, it flows around, it goes under. Over centuries, it wears the rock down into sand. The river does not possess the brute force of a hammer. It possesses the supreme power of consistency. It keeps going. It does what the clock does. It surrenders to the momentum of its own purpose. We, too, must become like the river. When we face rejection, when we face failure, when we face the heartbreak that threatens to arrest our hearts, we must not stagnate. We must find a way to flow around the obstacle. There is a profound emotional liberation in this mindset. When you stop watching the clock, you stop judging yourself. You release the toxic pressure of being there and accept the reality of being here. You realize that the current struggle is not a sign of failure. It is simply the texture of this particular hour. The clock does not judge 3 a.m. for being dark. It ticks through it to get to the sunrise. Similarly, you should not judge your dark seasons. You should not hate yourself for your depression, your grief, or your confusion. These are simply the nighttime hours of your soul. If you keep ticking, if you keep breathing, if you keep taking the smallest possible steps, the sun will eventually rise. It is inevitable. The rotation of the earth ensures the morning, and the rotation of your persistent efforts ensures a breakthrough. Let us look deeper into the human condition. Why do we find it so hard to keep going? Often, it is because we are addicted to the emotion of motivation. We wait to feel like doing the work. We wait for the lightning bolt of inspiration. But the clock does not wait for inspiration to tick. The clock is disciplined. It is mechanical in the most beautiful sense of the word. It separates action from emotion. This is the secret of the greats, the athletes, the artists, the leaders who changed the world. They did not always feel like training. They did not always feel like leading. They were often tired, afraid, and filled with doubt, but they did not let their feelings dictate their actions. They let their commitment dictate their actions. They understood that motivation is a fickle guest who comes and goes, but discipline is the host that remains. To keep going is an act of defiance against entropy. The universe tends toward disorder. Things fall apart if left untended. Relationships fade, muscles atrophy, skills deteriorate, and gardens are overrun by weeds. The only force that counters this decay is the human will to keep going, to tend the garden every day, to practice the skill every day, to nurture the relationship every day. It is the quiet heroism of maintenance. We often celebrate the dramatic moments of victory, the crossing of the finish line, the holding of the trophy. But the real victory happened in the thousands of unseen hours before, the early mornings when the alarm went off and the person decided to get up instead of hitting snooze. That is where the battle was won. That is where they did what the clock did. There is also a tremendous grace in this perspective. It allows us to forgive ourselves for our pace. The world is loud and constantly demands that we run faster, that we achieve more, that we optimize every second. It screams at us to hustle, to grind, to burn out. But the clock is rhythmic, not frantic. The second hand moves at a specific pace, 60 beats per minute. It never tries to do 70. It stays in its rhythm. We need to find our own rhythm. Keeping going does not mean sprinting until you collapse. It means finding a pace that you can sustain for a lifetime. It means respecting the natural cycles of your energy. Rest is part of the rhythm, just as the silence between the ticks is part of the clock's sound. To stop and rest is not to quit. It is to gather strength for the next movement. Think of the times in your life when you thought you could not survive. The moments of heartbreak so sharp you felt it physically in your chest. The failures that made you want to hide from the world, the losses that left a void in your universe. At that moment, it felt like time had stopped. It felt like the end. But look at you now. You are here. You survived. How? You survived because you took another breath and then another. You survived because, consciously or unconsciously, you kept going. You did what the clock did. You moved through the pain until the pain transformed into wisdom. You are a testament to the power of persistence. You are a survivor of 100% of your bad days. So how do we apply this to the challenges that face us today? Perhaps you are trying to build a business and the customers are not coming. Perhaps you are trying to heal a relationship that seems broken beyond repair. Perhaps you are battling an illness. The advice remains the same. Do not look at the mountain of work ahead. Look at the step beneath your feet. Do not measure the distance to the summit. Measure the integrity of your next stride. When you detach from the outcome and fall in love with the process, the fear evaporates. You become a vessel of action. Let us invite a sense of sacredness into the mundane act of perseverance. Imagine an old craftsman in his workshop. The wood is hard, the tools are worn, and his hands are calloused. He does not rush. He creates with a meditative slowness. He honors the wood. He honors the craft. He is not just making a chair. He is making a testament to patience. We must treat our lives with the same reverence. We are crafting our character. Every time we choose to be kind when we are angry, we are carving a beautiful detail into our soul. Every time we choose to work when we want to quit, we are sanding down a rough edge. This is the masterpiece we are building. Not a resume, but a character. There will be days when keeping going feels like dragging a heavy weight through mud. On those days, be gentle with yourself, but do not stop. Even if you can only crawl, crawl. Even if you can only mentally visualize the work, visualize it. Keep the connection alive. The only way to truly fail is to completely sever the cord of effort. As long as there is a pulse of intention, there is life in the dream. The clock never questions its purpose, it simply fulfills it. Your purpose is to live, to experience, to grow, and to contribute. You fulfill this purpose not by arriving at a destination, but by walking the path with courage. As we draw this meditation to a close, let the image of the clock transform in your mind. Let it no longer be a symbol of running out of time, but a symbol of the heartbeat of the universe. A steady, reassuring pulse that says, I am here. I am moving. I am alive. Let the ticking sound be a mantra of progress. Tick, I try. Talk, I learn. Tick, I fall. I rise. The world belongs to those who show up. To those who, despite the trembling in their hands and the doubt in their minds, put on their shoes and step out the door. It belongs to the relentless. You have within you a reserve of strength that you have not yet tapped. You have a resilience that is written into your DNA, passed down from ancestors who survived ice ages, famines, and wars by simply putting one foot in front of the other. You are the result of thousands of generations of keeping going. It is your heritage. So tomorrow morning, when the alarm rings and the comfort of the bed argues with the difficulty of your dreams, do not lie there negotiating. Do not calculate the odds. Do not watch the clock and wish for more time. Be the clock. Rise. Move. Begin. The future is not a place you are going to. It is a place you are creating, second by second, choice by choice, step by step. The path is waiting. The time is now. Keep going. Would you like to keep this fire burning and surround yourself with words that heal, empower, and transform? Please take a moment to like this content and subscribe to the Power in Words channel so we can continue to walk this journey of growth together, one powerful word at a time.